So today's a special day because we're doing our first annual Zodiac sign celebration. And today we're going to talk about the signs most likely to do this or that.
You're going to be familiar with this because if you've been through high school, you know the senior awards. They talk about most likely to succeed, most likely to end up in jail. So what we're going to do is we're going to give these awards out to the various signs. And she's going to be able to name them off. And she does not know what the questions are. So Joanna is has nothing in the loop. She might have some vague recollection of high school.
A long time ago.
Yeah. But I'm going to see who is most likely to do certain things based on their sign, right? So, and there could be more than one sign. And then if you know anybody who's famous that maybe the audience may be familiar with, maybe you could chime in with that too. You may not know a lot of celebrity signs, but you might know a few, right?
I tend to get more into in-depth, like transits and stuff, like more Vedic, whatever. But I obviously this is back when I was a little whippersnapper learning astrology, but I can try to throw them off as quick as possible.
Yeah, okay. All right, so a basic one, Joanna. What sign is most likely to succeed in life?
Capricorn.
Why?
Because of the planet Saturn, and they're slow and steady wins the race. They're not impulsive. They're not going to be like, oh, I want the fame and the fortune, and it's going to happen overnight. They will take their time.
Okay, so they're okay about delayed gratification, and that typically is a sign indicative of people who are successful because they know. Okay, great. All right, so who's most likely to be famous or want to be famous?
Want and actually is two different things.
Okay.
Leos definitely want to.
Okay. Why is that? Because they're
they love to be the center of attention.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? And a lot of them do get there. They have good personalities. They have big personalities. They're big personalities. Scorpio is typically too, like private to want all that. But of course, there's more to the chart. But I'm going to say Pisces.
And you have to be kind of she's being very general because when she does these charts, she dives in and there's a lot of other factors. So these are just generalizations, but it is kind of fun, especially if you identify with one of these signs. So just remember that it's
Pisces because it's ruled by Neptune, and that's fantasy, delusion, and also Hollywood. It's Hollywood, baby.
It's Hollywood, baby.
All right. Business like show business.
So let me ask you this. So who would you think a sign is that would be most likely incarcerated or breaking the law?
Sagittarius.
Okay, and why? Because
they're impulsive and they can't they just can't control themselves sometimes. A little bit Aries too.
Okay, all right. Okay, that's interesting. All right, so who would you think, you had alluded to big personalities, right? So who has a best personality award, would you say?
It's going to be a toss-up between a Libra and a Leo. The Leo is, the life of the party. Everybody likes the Libra vibe because they're diplomatic and they're,
So they're people pleasers?
Right.
Or they're just,
a little bit. They can be.
But they know how to deal with other
they're
people.
schmoozers. They're like used car salesmen kind of thing, but like with a little class with it.
A little class, Not with a comb over, is that what you're saying? Yeah, exactly. All right, who's most likely to cheat on their spouse?
Ooh, that's a Gemini.
Ghastly. Why is
And
that?
I hate to say this, but sometimes it's with the same sex.
Okay, well,
it happens.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to choose, you got 50-50, right? I don't know. Anyway, all right, so who's most likely to have lasting, meaningful relationships?
Taurus, because of the fixed nature, and in a way Scorpio, you know what I mean? But Scorpio's a little bit difficult, but I would say Taurus with that one.
Taurus, okay, interesting. Okay, so like if you were looking for someone, you not only have to be compatible with the sign, but you want somebody who was going to have that predisposition, right? Something, okay. So who about somebody who's very consumed with how they look, their vanity?
Leo,
why?
Libra. Because Leos are just they're the king of the jungle, you know what I mean? They got the hair, the high cheekbones, Libra because they're all about beauty, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Any Venus, Taurus can probably do it a little bit too, but any Venus kind of person is going to
I noticed conspicuously that the Aquarius has been left out of all of this stuff.
Oh, it'll come, I'm sure.
Eventually it'll come up, I hope so. Okay, who's most likely to have a gambling addiction or somebody who gambles, and it doesn't even have to be monetary. It could be gambling with life, other people's lives. It could be with their own personal decisions. They're more apt to be risk takers, perhaps, or gamble without.
Can I say 4 signs for this?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, I meant to say that. Absolutely. It's a new sign. Yeah.
Scorpio, Pisces, Aries, Sagittarius.
Okay, okay. Now, but this is along the same lines, but it could be different. I'm talking about like who's most likely to have a self-destructive addiction?
Scorpio.
Addiction, okay. And that's predominantly because?
Of the phoenix that rises from the ashes. The three stages, the low level, what they call the gray lizard, or back in those days, and then the scorpion that stings itself to death, and then the phoenix that rises. So they go down low and then they go up even higher.
Interesting. So they actually go on some kind
they
of
do.
like, oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. If you see them go down, you're going to guarantee you they're going to go up even higher than they were before.
Okay, very interesting. How about most likely to be impoverished or have that spirit of poverty where they can't
you're going to hate me for this, but I am going to say Aquarius. And here's why.
I don't know. I look at my wallet there. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, and this is why, because they have this be like, oh, okay, well, listen, I'm not saying this is a bad quality. But the real true Aquarian vibe is, if I have it, I'm going to give it to somebody else.
Oh.
Not the fake ones that are like, oh, I'm going to vote for this person because, we need to all be giving money to these people. No, that true vibe will actually give that money away.
So do they hold money as less important than other things?
Yes.
Like philanthropy or something like that to them is more valuable than the actual money.
Absolutely.
So money. So what would you say? What sign then would put a high value on money, monetary, and things and possessions?
Virgo is one of them.
Okay.
Because they're very meticulous in that way. And again, I'm going to say Capricorn probably would do it, but I think a lot of Virgos do that.
Now we're expecting you guys to make comments on your sign and see if any of those traits show up on yours as well, because I know you guys are listening. You'll know, right? All right. So we talked about how about the most likely to be a kind person, understanding and kind of go with the flow? Maybe an empath or somebody who has that trait that it's not necessarily that they're quiet or put up with anything, but they're very kind.
Cancer and Pisces.
Interesting. Okay, so Cancer and Pisces what are their attributes?
Water signs, emotional, intuitive, nurturing. I'm not saying they're all good.
Right.
I'm not saying that. Right. But, by nature, they're going to be a little more patient.
Right.
Than
So
the rest of us.
It's really like their environment and education, maybe as growing up, will draw out.
No, it's the way they're born. It's their personality.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they can be bad and good on both sides.
We all can.
Oh, I don't know.
We're all a little good and a little bad.
No, I constantly have that. Okay, who's most likely to be the person? Now, you talked about the big personality, life of the party, but who is somebody most likely to brighten a room up when they walk in? And not necessarily, because, sometimes people with big personalities are a little overbearing, right? So we're talking about people that have this nature that they're drawn to the person. Like, I think that of you. I think that you're very approachable, that strangers will just come up to you and start talking because you give that kind of vibe, right? So
I don't know why, but I do. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm not.
It could be your good looks and your personality. No, I'm just saying, like, what I'm talking about. Like,
yeah, I mean, I do meet a lot of people everywhere I go.
But I mean,
7-Eleven, the grocery store, getting gas. It's Aquarius. And the reason for me is because I have Uranus exactly conjunct my ascendant, so you might as well consider me an Aquarius rising.
Okay.
So it's just kind of that kind of energy.
Yeah. So they get because I've had people in my life where I see them walk in and it's not that moment of dread or like, oh great, or or even complacency. It's more like, oh wow, it's so good to see you, and you're actually really happy to see them.
Yeah, it's more of a Uranian Aquarian kind of energy that does that.
And who would you say is the most optimistic of the signs? Who's always looking at the bright side of life?
Oh.
I know these are all generalities, but if you had to peg it, who would it be?
Probably Pisces.
Okay, and that's
because they're delusional.
Oh no, that's too funny. I'm not a Pisces.
They're ruled by Neptune. They don't see the whole picture.
Okay. So on a personal note though, so you think that people who are optimistic typically are not really seeing things the way
kinda.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. Would you say that you're more of a half empty or a half full?
I'm a realist. So if somebody's a POS, they're a POS. There ain't no sugarcoating it. You know what I mean?
Okay, no, I get that. I like realism. I do think that you can train yourself though to see the good in other things, or
Yeah, yeah. I
focusing-
might go. You know, I'm a little extreme, but I might go a little too far with sometimes. But I mean, over like if I was just talking to a neighbor about this. If I don't like somebody, I don't like them.
And
There
they
is
know.
not anything.
And
I
they-
try not to. What I do is I avoid them. You know what I
Right.
mean? I try not to be mean, but I
Right.
just like they'll know because I won't talk to them.
Right.
I won't have anything to do with them.
But you're
yeah.
a straight shooter too, so
I
you're not
am.
the type of person to blow smoke up somebody's,
Correct.
whatever, right?
Like an Aries.
So, like an Aries. Okay, so who would you say was the most likely to be like overeducated or just rightfully educated, meaning that they enjoy academia?
Sagittarius.
Sagittarius, and that is because
They rule the house that rules the education, and they like to further their education traditionally. I'm not saying they sit home and like me and like read astrology books, but they'll go get masters and
right.
PhDs and all
How
that
about
stuff.
the person who's what's a sign that's most spiritual, most like somebody who'd be a guru, or somebody who'd be a priest, or somebody who would...
It's gonna be the water signs: Scorpio, Pisces, and Cancer.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. And I always feel like with the water, the way you explained it last time, the balancing of the emotions.
No, that's Aquarius. You
Oh,
guys
that's
are,
only balancing.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
air. So you guys don't get too involved. That's why you're so into
that's
human.
right.
Yeah, so
That's
that's you're an air sign. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I got to remember this stuff, right? So, okay. And then who's
You guys
most...
like my shirt? It says Uranus. Rules my chart.
Anyway, so who's most likely to win a Nobel Prize? Like somebody, a Nobel. If we know what a Nobel Prize is, it's some extraordinary feat, and it's typically for the betterment of humanity, right? So, but their drive necessarily isn't for the betterment of humanity. Perhaps is to fill a void.
I'm gonna go with Aries.
Aries. Okay, why?
Drive.
The drive, okay, got it.
Yeah.
So they were introduced to it, but they would also have to be a fan of academia, right? Or not dread it.
Yeah, but that's
because-
more the chart. They probably have some Sagittarius or Capricorn or some stuff up in the 10th house, 9th house, stuff going on like that.
I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
And who's most likely to be an astrologist? Your
Anybody
sign?
with a strong
Oh,
Uranus.
okay.
Uranus conjunct the ascendant is the most common, and this is through research. They found this aspect with professional astrologers, and I do have it conjunct my ascendant and conjunct my sun
Excellent.
and conjunct my Mars.
Well, I would just think with you too,
That's why people don't say I seem like a Scorpio. I'm Uranian and Martian and everything else.
You're Martian.
I am.
No, I honestly think you have a spiritual side to you. I mean, I see that. And I also believe that I can sense that you have this drive to discover things. Like you love to...
I'm a researcher, yeah.
Yeah, you're a researcher. You just love that. And I love that part about you. I like learning things as well, too. I just don't know if it's a compulsion, but I do...
I'm a Scorpio
No,
with a Uranus on the ascendant.
I think
And I
it's
have Uranus
fantastic.
in the sign Scorpio because I'm a Scorpio rising
But you're
too.
extremely intelligent, too.
Thanks.
So, what sign is mostly...
Oh,
most
I'm gonna give it to
intelligent?
Libra with that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's a lot of intelligent signs in different ways,
Yeah.
but yeah, because they're so logical to me that they can like stay calm and just, this is a true Libra.
Yeah.
And they're just analytical and they research and they're not impulsive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not that impulsive people aren't smart, but to me it seems like a 2-year-old. It's like, okay, just settle down and think this out. Like, if you want to get even,
Right. You
don't do anything stupid and impulsive, right? You
That's
take your
right.
time.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah.
baby.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I don't know. What do you think? I mean, do you know any famous people? Like for instance, Einstein. Do you know what...
I don't know what sign he seemed like an Aquarius though. Like his hair with the Uranian, all kind of stuff. So I'm sure he had something going on there.
Yeah.
Ted Bundy, I think he was a Sagittarius, but he had like a lot of Scorpio qualities, which explain the obsessiveness and stuff like that.
Okay.
I think Jeffrey Dahmer was a Gemini.
Skedio. Yeah, I remember that was one of our early podcasts that we had who was the most likely to become a serial killer.
It's Gemini.
Yeah.
Everybody says it's Scorpio, but
Yeah.
Scorpios get obsessed, but they switch their obsessions.
Okay.
Gemini, I don't know, it's just different. And
If you had to guess, who would you say Donald Trump was? What sign would you say he was?
I would say he was a Leo.
A Leo.
Is he a Leo?
I don't know.
I think he's a Gemini, but I would say he was a Leo. He
Yeah.
he might be a Leo rising.
Well, and the thing is that you probably will never know what time of day he was born.
It might be
and
up there.
everything.
I don't think I've ever looked at
But
it
I'm
that much.
interested.
But
Oh, okay.
yeah.
I just wonder. It's interesting because I'm sure you see that through your lens, right? When you see people in certain positions or famous people. I wonder, do you have that always in your head, like what kind of sign they are?
Sometimes I'll see something about, not a lot, because I don't care that much about famous people, but I will see something on TV and I'll be like, it'll be like some weirdo murderer or something, and then I'll be like, ooh, let me look up their birth chart. And I don't remember who, but I have done that before because I'm just trying to figure out why they're so weird. Like Jeffrey Dahmer, I did his chart years ago, and he actually has, I think, the moon in the 7th house. Now, you guys remember the eating thing, who he was, you know, whatever. The 7th house is relationships, and the moon is where we feel close to somebody or nurturing. So if you can put that together, there was a connection with feeling close to, okay, I'm not gonna say too much, but I don't know if we can say that. So anyway, like, it's like, you know what I mean? Feeling close to, like, whatever, through that thing.
Well,
now,
it made sense. I mean,
but, not everybody, obviously, with that placement is going to be like that. It's not like a common thing or something,
right,
you know?
Exactly, yeah.
But yeah, you know, you start to look at people's charts, and then, of course, as you get into the East, you look at dashas and stuff like that and time periods of their life, and then it gets even more interesting. But you can see the psychology from the West. Like, why do they turn out this way? And it's really not, I mean, it is partly like why, but it's also like a free will thing. Like, I think I truly believe that are just some truly evil people. And I'm not the super compassionate person with those people. Like, I'm not, you know, I'm compassionate with victims, you know,
and I
but
think you're smart because you know how to dispense it based on what you think.
I know when somebody's evil and when somebody's not. Everybody knows that about me.
It's not like you dispense it in judgment.
Right.
You just stay away from it.
I stay away 100%. Yeah.
But that's smart. Not a lot of people have that. It's like that evil radar kind of thing. No, I
have
that's
evil
why there's
radar.
a lot of victims, I think. You know,
there are, yeah.
Unfortunately.
But and I have stories, I won't get into them, but I when I sense evil and I can walk into a gas station and I've sensed it before, I will turn around and walk out. And they're everywhere. They're everywhere. And all different signs, all different aspects, you know, whatever. But they are here, you know? And he, obviously, Jeffrey Dahmer was one of them, you know? So do I have compassion when whatever happened to him in prison? No, I don't. You know what I mean? I have compassion for innocent kids, innocent animals, innocent people that are, you know, tortured every day, of course. I don't have compassion for evil monsters who like to hurt others getting what they deserve back.
Yeah, that was pretty torturous what he did, but yeah, I think, and he's an exception. I mean, obviously, all those people born under that sign are not going to be
exactly. But so, I love Geminis because one of my aunts is Gemini, my cat Edgar's Gemini. I love him. I don't trust you guys.
He loves me too.
They switch.
They switch. But I do think it is fascinating, especially with the knowledge that you have about signs. I mean, we had alluded to this before about how you go into a room and there might be someone talking to you, and you're starting to pick up certain things, and you're like, oh, this guy's a that, or this is that, and you're like, yeah, right on. Because I mean, how do you separate yourself from that?
I know. I love astrology.
If you have that knowledge, you automatically do it. And tell me, how does that benefit you in your relationship and your life? Knowing those things. I mean, is it
I'm just very, very, very selective, as you know. You know what I mean? Like I mean, I hate to say this, but it's just, you know, what I'm not just, it's not just men, it's friends, whatever. It's like, no, I'm not getting a good vibe from you. So we got to part ways. I mean, that's just the way I feel. And it's because of life experience, you know, and astrology and all that. And I am very independent, you know, being, you know, in the East, I'm a Swati sun and ascendant, which is a sign of independence. So to me, I'd rather do anything than be in bad company. We talked about that before. I would rather do anything than be in bad company. And you know, it's funny that, and I don't know what sign this is or if there is one for it, but I think there are people that are drawn to, like, the bad boys. Like, I remember girls that I was in high school with. Some of them were really drawn to, and I was always like, I don't really. I like super, like, masculine provider, protector. Because I got a big personality and I need somebody to match me. You know what I mean? I don't like wimpy mama's boys. And I don't like... You don't like effeminate or that kind of man. For your life is what... No, please, no. But I also don't like ones that are trying to be macho. But I just like masculine guys. A lot of women, though, really do want a man to be a man. Like they do, but they'll settle for whatever because they just want a man so bad. That's the difference. Okay. I could get that. Yeah. So that's the problem, and then they end up unhappy and having health issues and blah 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 blah. I've seen it all before. As a psychic for 16 years, I've seen that. So it's just better to do your own thing. Would you say that if you're born in a predisposition under a sign, that it's better not to fight those things that you already have, and to try to develop it in a proper way, like the education of it, because suppressing those things, like if you were brought up and that your parents suppressed that quality that may have, do you think that
that person is always going to be off their whole life because they never
I think,
developed
you
that.
know, I think my dad always told me to, whatever your strengths are, to focus on those. And I think that's what you do. We're all going to have weaknesses, right? And I think we try not to focus on those. We just try to build on our strengths.
Yeah,
basically.
well, that makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a good rule for any life, even if you're not into astrology. It's, what is it? Accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative, right? So I guess it is just self-help, pretty much.
Because
right?
every sign has a positive and a negative, and I don't have a lot of the negatives. I'm not just being egotistical. The only one true negative Scorpio quality I do have is I hold a grudge.
Right.
And everybody knows that. And I will hold it till the day I die. And I'm not going, it's not that I'm proud of it. People are like, oh, you're so, but I'm not an idiot. So I'm not going to keep letting the same monster do the same thing to me over and over again.
Do you hold a grudge for someone that you might not ever see again?
Yeah.
So, okay. So that might be a little
It's for life.
Yeah, it's
a life
But
contract.
I mean, can they be forgiven? Like, say they came to you and said,
I'm not
"Listen,
there yet. I'm trying to get there. You know, that's why I wear the
okay.
cross. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get there. I know I'm supposed to be forgiving. I'm not there yet. I'm being transparent with this. I'm not there yet. So, but I think it's best not to think about them or to think of them as no longer on this planet because they don't matter. And it's really all it does is just kind of mess up my psyche, you know what I mean?
Right.
But it's hard for a Scorpio to let that go. It is.
So it is a Scorpio thing.
It is definitely a very Scorpio. And now Aquarius can hold a mean grudge too.
I was going to say, I have been known to do that.
Yeah, I've noticed that with Aquarius.
And
we're both fixed, you know? Yeah.
I like to say that I can forgive. I don't forget, but I try not to, but it is very difficult for me not to.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like there's been times where I've had to daily do it. Like I'll wake up and you
almost got to pray.
But I have to say, well, yeah, and I mean, I think it's with me, I just shut it off immediately. I don't even dwell on it because as soon as I start dwelling on it, it's like I call it eating at the buffet. Like I'm just going, oh
yeah,
they did this and they did.
But then you almost kind of get addicted to it. You're like, oh, I hate this person. Yeah, it's like
then
fun
I feel
or something.
justified in some way if I can dissect their lives and judge them. I'm just talking about me. Okay, I'm not saying anybody else. But it is hard. It is hard to do that. But
do you other Aquariuses feel this way?
Yeah, write me and tell me what you think. No, but I would think that would probably be a challenge for some people who've been very injured. You know, like I think to myself, people have gotten their children murdered. I don't know how they get past that. I don't know how difficult their road ahead is. I mean, how do you ever I would think that if that ever happened to me, I don't know that I'd ever be normal ever again. Like, I can't even imagine.
People have been through horrible
really
stuff.
bad stuff. So I can imagine that kind of practicality going into it is just, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not a good quality. It's better to just walk away and forget about the person forever. But again, you know, every sign has the negative to it, right? So every sign has a challenge. And that's just one of those challenges with Scorpio and Aquarius. And honestly, people are like, oh, Aquarius, no. I never read in a traditional astrology book how much Aquariuses hold grudges, but I feel like you guys are right up there, right next head to head with Scorpio. I've seen it over and over with people with a lot of Aquarius.
Well, if I think long enough, I can hold a grudge about anybody. Really.
Even me.
But remember that these are generalities and that, you know, when she does the charts, there's a lot of other factors that come into play. But we would love to hear you guys put on your comments your sign and what you think your attributes are and whether they're consistent with some of the things that we were talking about. It's just for curiosity's sake. And remember, like I said, they're general, you know, answers on this because there are other factors, right? The moon's rising. Many
mathematical factors. Yeah.
Exactly. So you may or may not resemble some of these, but it is interesting.
And it's all in good fun. So we're going to wrap this up.
And we're going to do this next year. And do the same thing next year. So
this is the 2025 Zodiac Awards. All right.
We had a great time. Thanks, guys.
Bye.